welcome back to the channel. We're excited to have you join us again as we continue exploring the world of educational theories and global best practices. Whether you are an educator, student, researcher, or simply passionate about learning, this space is dedicated to bringing you insightful research-based content that helps you stay informed and inspired. We appreciate your support and enthusiasm as we dive deeper into what makes teaching and learning truly effective across different cultural contexts. This season, we're expanding our focus to include not just fundamental theories, but also practical strategies, case studies, and innovative approaches from classrooms around the world. From curriculum design and inclusive teaching methods to technology integration and assessment models, we'll cover it all backed by evidence and designed to support your educational journey. So make sure to subscribe, like, and share as we grow our community of lifelong learners and change makers in education. Why Bloom's taxonomy? Bloom's taxonomy is a fundamental framework in education that classifies learning into three domains. But unfortunately, most people are only focused on one domain, which is the cognitive domain. So this video is going to shed the light on the two other domains, which are the affective and psychomotor, to explain how the three different domains complement each other to empower students and make them skillful global citizens. So developed by Benjamin Bloom and his collaborators, this taxonomy helped educators understand the progression of student learning from basic knowledge acquisition to complex skills and value internationalization. Each domain addresses a different aspect of learning. Thinking, which is the cognitive that we all know, feeling, the affective, which we will talk about, and doing, which is the psychomotor domain. Those three domains provides a structured approach to developing comprehensive learning experiences that go beyond rote memorization. In this video, we will explore how Bloom's taxonomy can be effectively applied to curriculum design, lesson planning, and assessment. We'll see how aligning learning objectives with the appropriate level of each domain ensures balanced instruction, supports differentiated learning, and creates meaningful assessment strategies. Whether you're crafting a syllabus, planning daily lessons, or designing evaluation, using Bloom's taxonomy as a guide can enhance the clarity, depth, and impact of your teaching practice. Bloom's taxonomy, as we said, is the framework used to classify and organize different levels of thinking and learning. It was first created by the educational psychologist Benjamin Bloom in 1956 and later revised in 2001. The purpose of Bloom's taxonomy is to help educators design curriculum and assessment that encourage higher order thinking and a deeper understanding of content. The three different domains of the Bloom's taxonomy are the cognitive, which focuses on knowledge, affective, which focuses on attitudes and feelings, and the psychomotor, which focuses on skills. To cut it short, we can use the abbreviation of KSA, where K stands for knowledge, S skills, and A attitudes. Those of us who are only focusing on the cognitive domain are only tailoring their learning tasks and opportunities for the mental skills while ignoring the growth in feelings and the physical skills. Overall, Bloom's taxonomy helps us to structure the learning objectives, assessments, and activities that progressively challenge students' cognitive abilities while focusing on their emotional and attitudes of learning. Let's now look at the cognitive domain of Bloom's taxonomy, which we are all very much familiar with. So, this domain focuses on the intellectual skills, and it is hierarchical classification of the different levels of thinking, which promotes higher forms of thinking in learning and teaching. The cognitive domain is well known of the three domains of Bloom's taxonomy, and it focuses on the core learning. Even though it is very much familiar to everybody, we will just look now quickly at the categories. Knowledge, recalling facts, terms, basic concepts, or answers without necessarily understanding them deeply. Understanding or comprehension, which is grasping the meaning of information by interpreting and translating what has been learned. Application, using the learned information in new situations or contexts. Analysis, breaking down information into parts to explore relationships and patterns. Synthesis, making judgments based on criteria and standards through checking and critiquing. Creating or evaluating, which is putting elements together to form a novel, coherent whole or make an original product. As we can see, each level builds on the one below it. For example, students must first be able to remember and understand content before they can analyze or create something new based on it. So teachers use Bloom's taxonomy to design curriculum and assessment, develop measurable learning objectives, and encourage deeper thinking and critical analysis. Let's move now to talk about the affective domain. The affective domain of Bloom's taxonomy focuses on the emotional aspects of learning, which are just as crucial as cognitive skills but are often overlooked in traditional educational environments. It encompasses attitudes, movements, feelings, values, and emotional responses toward learning content and experiences. Unlike the cognitive domain, which follows a more clearly sequential progression from basic to complex intellectual skills, the affective domain progresses more fluidly. Learners may move back and forth between levels as they reflect, internalize, and grow emotionally in response to learning. Stages in this domain are receiving, willing to listen, responding, willing to participate, valuing, willing to involve, organizing, willing to be an advocate, and characterization, which is the willing to change one's behavior, lifestyle, or way of life. Let's look more in depth at each one of those categories. So, the first category is receiving, willing to listen. The learner is open to and aware of new experiences, information, or values. This is the foundation. Without awareness, no affection learning can occur. Responding. The learner not only pays attention, but actively participates in learning experiences. Emotional engagement begins to take form. Valuing. The learner begins to see worth or value in what is being learned and demonstrates commitment to it. Organizing. The learner integrates different values, resolves conflicts among them, and creates a personal value system that guides behavior. Internalizing. The learner's values are fully internalized and consistently guide behavior and lifestyle decision. This reflects the deepest level of affection development. The affection domain enables learners to develop empathy, commitment, and emotional intelligence. It also enables learners to see the relevance of content in their own lives and move from passive reception of knowledge to active value-driven engagement. Finally, learners become agents of change in their fields or communities. How can educators foster the effective growth? Teachers and educators can foster the effective growth by creating safe spaces for emotional expression, connecting lessons to real-world issues, encouraging reflection, dialogue, and ethical reasoning, and modeling the attitudes and values they hope to cultivate in learners. Let's move now to the psychomotor domain. The psychomotor domain focuses on physical movement, motor skill development, and the coordination of the body and mind to perform tasks. It involves not just doing, but doing with accuracy, speed, timing, control, and intention. And it assumes an underlying level of cognitive understanding to guide performance. The stages of the psychomotor domain have been described as follows: action, elementary movement, coordination, synchronized movement, formation, bodily movement, production, combining verbal and nonverbal movement. Let's now have a look at each one of those categories. Number one, perception. It is the ability to use sensory cues to guide motor activity. This ranges from sensory stimulation through cue selection to translation. Set, which is the readiness to act. It includes mental, physical, and emotional sets. These three sets are dispositions that predetermine a person's response to different situations. Sometimes we call it mindsets. Guided response, the early stages in learning a complex skill that includes limitation and trial and error. Adequacy of performance is achieved by practicing. Mechanism, which is the basic performance, is the intermediate stage in learning a complex skill. Learned responses have become habitual and the movements can be performed with some confidence and precision. Psychomotor development is essential in disciplines where knowledge must translate into action. It ensures students are not only informed but competent and confident in executing tasks. When paired with the cognitive and affective domains, it supports whole school learning and whole person learning, thinking, feeling, and doing. Let's look now at other categories such as the complex overt response, which is the expert. The skillful performance of motor acts that involve complex movement patterns. Proficiency is indicated by a quick, accurate, and highly coordinated performance requiring a minimum of energy. This category includes performing without hesitation and automatic performance. Adaptation, which is another category, it is focused on skills that are well developed and the individual movement patterns to fit special requirement. The last one, which is the origination, it is creating new movement patterns to fit a particular situation or specific problem. Here, learning outcomes emphasize creativity based upon highly developed skills. Let's look now at the guiding statements that teachers can use based on Bloom's taxonomy to engage students at various levels of cognitive complexity. By asking questions that align with different levels of Bloom's taxonomy, educators can promote deeper thinking, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills in students. Here is how teachers can apply each level of Bloom's taxonomy to improve questioning techniques and foster these skills. Starting from remembering, questions focus on recalling facts, terms, and basic concepts. These are typically lower order thinking questions that serve as the foundation for higher order thinking. Why should we use those questions? These questions help ensure students have a strong foundation of knowledge that they can build upon. It's crucial for understanding and remembering important information before diving deeper into critical thinking tasks. Let's move now to the second level in the cognitive domain. At the understanding level, questions move beyond simple recall and ask students to explain ideas or concepts in their own words, demonstrate comprehension, and interpret information. These questions encourage students to demonstrate their understanding of concepts and provide an opportunity for them to rephrase information in a way that makes sense to them. Then the third level of the cognitive domain, the applying level, which encourages students to use what they've learned in new and unfamiliar situations. This level, as we know, promotes practical problem solving. These questions require students to use their understanding of concepts in real-world or hypothetical scenarios, promoting critical thinking and the ability to transform knowledge to different contexts. Moving to the analyzing level in the cognitive domain, at the analyzing level, questions encourage students to break down complex information, examine relationships, and identify patterns or inconsistencies. These questions help students develop critical thinking by promoting them to deconstruct ideas and see how parts relate to the whole. This encourages them to consider the connections and structures of information. At the evaluation level, which is about making judgments based on criteria and evidence, these questions encourage students to form opinions, justify their thinking, and evaluate the merits of different solutions or viewpoints, which is essential for developing critical thinking and reasoning skills. At the creating level, students are encouraged to synthesize information and generate new ideas, solutions, or products. This is the highest level of thinking in Bloom's taxonomy cognitive domain, and it promotes innovation and problem solving. The questions here will help students apply their learning in creative ways, allowing them to combine existing knowledge to generate something original, which is key for fostering innovation, critical thinking, and problem solving. Looking at this slide, we can see here that we have a complete teacher planning kit, which includes all the 6 levels of the cognitive domain with specific keywords, actions, outcomes, and questions. This teacher planning kit poster will be available on the channel in the posts section for your reference. What we need to think about when we are trying to construct the questions is the strategy of the complexity of the questions, their progression, and the encouragement of reflection to allow students to start with lower level questions, building their knowledge and understanding, then gradually moving to higher order questions that require analysis, evaluation, and creation, which allow them to build the reasoning behind their answers and the implications of their ideas. Let's now move to think about the importance of Bloom's taxonomy. Why Bloom's taxonomy matters? Bloom's taxonomy is crucial for curriculum mapping, structuring unit planners, and writing lesson plans because it provides a clear systematic approach to designing learning experiences that foster a progression of cognitive skills. Here's why it matters in each of these areas. Starting from the curriculum mapping design, Bloom's taxonomy helps educators map out a curriculum that starts with foundational knowledge and gradually processes to more complex and abstract cognitive skills. This ensures students are not just memorizing facts, but also developing critical thinking, analysis, and problem-solving skills over time. By using Bloom's taxonomy, teachers can ensure that the learning objectives at each grade level or unit address a range of cognitive skills. Also, Bloom's taxonomy allows for alignment not just within a single grade level, but also across grade levels. Regarding the structuring of the unit planner, Bloom's taxonomy helps organize units in a logical flow that builds cognitive complexity. Structuring the unit using Bloom's taxonomy ensures a balance of different cognitive demands. Bloom's taxonomy helps guide the design of assessments, which will allow the testing mechanism designed to be focused on the remembering facts and as well on the creation or production of a product or solution. Moving further to the lesson planning, Bloom's taxonomy helps educators write clear, specific, and measurable learning objectives. Teachers can also design activities that align with the cognitive level of the lesson and tailored to support students with different abilities. Bloom's taxonomy helps ensure that lesson plans incorporate activities that encourage higher order thinking. Teachers can use Bloom's taxonomy to differentiate instruction for students at different ability levels. As a summary, Bloom's taxonomy is essential for curriculum mapping, unit planning, and lesson planning. By using it in these ways, educators can create a well-structured learning experience that encourages critical thinking, fosters deeper understanding, and supports students' academic growth. Let's now move to think about students' role when it comes to Bloom's taxonomy? So the question here, do we need to explain it to them? Bloom's taxonomy does indeed relate directly to students. Though its application and understanding can be nuanced in different educational contexts, the framework itself is designed to guide educators in structuring learning objectives, assessments, and activities, but it can be very beneficial to students in terms of helping them understand the depth in their learning goals and the progression of cognitive skills. So for students, Bloom's taxonomy helps them recognize different level of thinking, the fact that learning is not just about remembering, the importance of engaging deeply with content and developing their cognitive abilities to tackle more challenging and complex tasks. So using Bloom's taxonomy in instruction helps students understand the learning and its layered progressive process that builds towards mastering more complex concepts and skills. While it might not always be necessary to explain the taxonomy in details, providing students with some understanding of it can be highly beneficial. So number one, transparency. If students know the purpose behind different levels of tasks and questions, they may engage with the work more meaningfully and understand the cognitive skills they need to develop. The second one, the ownership of learning. By explaining Bloom's taxonomy, students can begin to see their own growth in terms of progressing through these levels. They might begin to understand that moving beyond memorization and understanding is a key part of mastering any subject. Thirdly, encouraging self-reflection. Students who understand Bloom's taxonomy might become better at self-assessment, identifying whether they are at the comprehension stage or whether they need to advance to deeper levels of thinking. That said, it can often be enough to simply use the principles of Bloom's taxonomy when designing lessons and assessment without explicitly labeling the levels. Some teachers find that giving students metacognitive prompts like, this is a task where you need to create something new, or you're being asked to evaluate different solutions is sufficient to encourage deeper engagement, while other teachers rephrase Bloom's in ways related to the learning objectives and success criteria to support students knowing what is the aim and depth of the learning objective and opportunity they're engaged in. Now we're going to look at the depth of learning objectives and standards and how Bloom's taxonomy will help us to understand and explain to the students the depth related to what they are being in charge of doing. So we do consider that Bloom's taxonomy is a powerful tool to help students understand two things: the depth and scope of the learning objective and standard. Number one, Bloom's taxonomy can contribute to the clarity of learning expectations. So when objectives are written with Bloom's levels in mind, it gives students a clearer sense of what's expected of them. So the use of Bloom's taxonomy helps articulate what kind of cognitive effort is needed to achieve the objective, which allows students to recognize the complexity of the task. The second one, which is distinguishing between surface and deep learning. Students can understand the difference between tasks that require surface level memorization versus tasks that require deeper thinking. By knowing that certain assignments involve higher order thinking, students can approach those tasks with a more analytical mindset. Progression of learning. Bloom's taxonomy emphasizes the idea that learning is a process of building upon simpler skills. This can help students recognize how earlier lessons are fundamental for mastering more complex tasks later on. It helps them see how they are progressing through the material and gives them a sense of achievement as they move towards higher levels of cognitive engagement. Let's now look at Bloom's taxonomy and the development of critical thinking. Number one, Bloom's taxonomy encourages students to engage with content in stages, beginning with simple tasks and moving up to more sophisticated tasks. This can help them approach complex problems step by step, developing critical thinking over time. Also, by structuring the tasks around the various levels of Bloom's taxonomy, students are encouraged to take an active role in their learning, not just memorizing information, but engaging with it critically and creatively. This not only promotes deep thinking, but also helps students see how to approach real-world problems by analyzing, evaluating, and creating solutions. Last but not least, Bloom's taxonomy provides students with a framework to understand how to approach different kinds of tasks. As a conclusion, Bloom's taxonomy is a valuable tool that not only helps teachers design curricula and assessment, but also benefits students by making learning more transparent, progressive, and goal-oriented. While it's not strictly necessary to explain the taxonomy in details to students, helping them understand how their learning progresses through different levels of cognitive effort can enhance their engagement, self-reflection, and critical thinking. Bloom's taxonomy helps students understand the depth of their learning, making it clear that mastering a subject involves far more than just remembering facts. It's about thinking critically, solving problems, and creating new ideas. As we conclude this video, we hope you now have a clearer understanding of Bloom's taxonomy and its three critical domains: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. These domains offer a comprehensive view of learning that goes beyond simply acquiring knowledge. They help us consider how students thinking, how they feel and value what they're learning, and how they apply it through action and performance. When used together, these domains ensure that learning is holistic, meaningful, and lasting. One of the major benefits of Bloom's taxonomy is how it supports curriculum mapping, lesson planning, and assessment design. By aligning educational goals with the levels of Bloom's hierarchy, educators can ensure that learning activities and assessments are purposeful and developmentally appropriate. It allows for a progression from fundamental knowledge to critical thinking and creativity, making lessons more structured and effective. This clarity helps both teachers and students understand where learning is headed and how success can be measured. Bloom's framework also empowers students by encouraging deeper learning and self reflection. Rather than focusing solely on memorization, it challenges students to analyze, evaluate, and create skills that are essential for academic success and lifelong learning. Finally, Bloom's taxonomy is instrumental in developing key skills and competencies needed for the 21st century, such as problem solving, collaboration, communication, and ethical reasoning. These are not just academic abilities, they are life skills. By thoughtfully integrating Bloom's principles and three domains into our educational practices, we prepare students not only to pass tests, but to thrive in a rapidly changing world. Thank you for watching, and we hope you'll continue exploring educational theories with us in future videos. Thank you for spending your time with us, and we appreciate your continued support and engagement with our channel. If you are interested in the PDF of the presentation or the teacher planning kit, write in the comments and we shall provide it to you. Don't forget to stay tuned for our weekly videos uploaded every Thursday, where we explore more topics on teaching strategies, curriculum development, global education models, and much more. We look forward to learning and growing with you each week.